The NFL draft just reshaped the AFC East, but how, you didn't ask? That's what we're going to try and find out. Today we're talking rookies, depth charts, metrics, contracts, everything that will help you make an informed decision in your leagues about this season and beyond. Welcome to Shut Up Football. I'm Jeff Stoltzfus. That's Kevin. This one might be a bit longer than expected, so let's get into it. Buffalo Bills. The Bills draft was a little bit wonky. They didn't seem to want to make a pick. They kept trading back and acquiring picks so they could apply a spray and pray approach to the draft. Why not? They're bound to hit something, like their balls on a toilet seat. They traded back twice in the first round. In fact, completely out of the first round, giving Xavier Worthy to the Chiefs, which was a choice, and Xavier Legette to the Panthers. They gave Patrick Mahomes the fastest wide receiver in the draft, and they gave Josh Allen the slowest. And this was the plan? Winners, the Chiefs, the Panthers, and everybody named Xavier. Losers, Josh Allen, James Cook, Keon Coleman, and any piece of drywall in close proximity to a Bills fan during the draft. In the second round, they took Keon Coleman, wide receiver out of Florida State. His claim to fame, besides being forever inexorably linked to a pair of Xaviers, is he ran the slowest 40 at the Combine. He's also a pretty good receiver. He had 658 yards and 11 touchdowns last year. Pretty good film. Despite a slow 40 time, his RAS is pretty high. He doesn't have long speed, but he does have short area quickness. My concerns are about his ability to separate and his route running. I'll say this, he has a near identical 40 time to Puka Nacua and better burst numbers. So his slow 40 time doesn't really scare me when his tape is good. But Puka is a good route runner. Keon is so-so. I think everything depends on his ability to improve his route running at the next level. The wide receiver room consists of Khalil Shakir, who's 24 years old, he's on the third year of his rookie deal, Curtis Samuel, who's 27 years old, on a 3-year deal with an out after this year, Mac Hollins, who's 30 years old and just a rental, Justin Shorter, who's 24 years old, he's in the second year of his rookie deal, Chase Claypool, and KJ Hamler. Buffalo Bills were 27th in cap space this year. So if they find themselves in the same situation next year, I think they're more likely to draft a guy than acquire a wide receiver of note through free agency. Now, the wide receiver room is not trash. It's just not sexy. I mean, they've got speed with Shakir and Samuel. They've got size with Shorter and Coleman and Hollins. I'm sticking with Khalil Shakir this year for a breakout. It's basically shit or get off the pot time. I was a big fan of his coming out when he got drafted, and either it's going to happen this year or it's never going to happen, which is a fantastic way to evaluate things for fantasy. So what do I expect in his rookie year? Heavily involved. He was drafted with the expectation that he was going to matter now, and I think they're going to give him every opportunity to do so. Currently, Keon Coleman is being mocked about the top of the second round, 13th overall, just before Xavier Legette and Adonai Mitchell. Personally, I like Legette over Coleman, and I have since before even the Combine, so I'm just going to stick with my board if it falls that way. However, I could see the case for anyone else going with Coleman, because they could both turn into a wide receiver 1, and would you rather have Bryce Young's wide receiver 1 or Josh Allen's? In the second round, they took Cole Bishop, safety. He's got good size, he's fast. In 3 years, he had 197 tackles, 7.5 sacks, and 3 picks. He was the third safety drafted. He's a tackling machine, good in coverage, vicious behind the line. He was a defensive captain for Utah. What I don't like? He looks like that kid who keeps stealing my newspaper and taking a crap in my flower bed. Damn you, Timmy! The safety room was a bit thin. They dumped Micah Hyde and Jordan Poyer in the offseason. It's just Taylor Rapp as the strong safety. He's 26 years old. He's on a 3-year deal, but there's an out after this year. However, he's experienced and cheap. I think he's a good investment for IDP. He could be a good starter. I have no clue, though, when he'll get the starting role. If you invest in him, you're going to have to be patient. In the fourth round, they took Ray Davis, running back out of Kentucky. In his last 2 years between Vanderbilt and Kentucky, he had 2 1,000-yard rushing seasons, 29 receptions, and 28 touchdowns. He's got good speed, good hands, he can be involved in the pass game. He's short and solid, like a bowling ball, but he's big enough to get some goal line work. What I don't like is he's 24 years old, a little old for a rookie. He wasn't in my first 2 tiers of running backs in this draft, and my comp for him was... Did I say Mein Kampf? And my comparable for him was Khalil Shakir, but with less lateral quickness. The running back room is James Cook, who's 24 years old. He's on the third year of his rookie deal. Ty Johnson, who's 26 and he's on a 1-year deal. And Darrington Evans, who's 25 and on a 1-year deal. In his rookie year, I'm expecting him to be a change-of-pace guy for James Cook. He's currently the RB2 right now on the depth chart, and that probably has value, especially with Joe Brady calling plays in Buffalo. But he's just as likely to steal goal line work from Cook as he is to get goal line work stolen from him by Josh Allen. Eventually, I think he'll be a good complement to James Cook, but probably move on after his rookie contract is up. It's just Buffalo Bills running back business as usual. They draft another mid-round RB, like Devin Singletary, like Zach Moss. Currently, he's being mocked about 28th overall, mocked near Jermaine Burton and Eric All, which is a rough spot. If I needed an RB at that spot, I'd probably take Isaac Guerendo instead. He's a year younger and has more potential standalone value in the future. Miami Dolphins. Seems like the Dolphins didn't have any gaps in their starting lineup. They were able to draft best available, and as such, some of my favorites landed in Miami. Winners, offensive starters, Chop Robinson. Losers, Malik Washington. In the first round, they took Chop Robinson, edge out of Penn State. What kind of name is Chop? That can't be his real name. Ha! I knew it! His real name is, Demi... Chop is fine. Why won't NFL.com show me his age? They're more interested in hand size. What about RAS? Well, that is a stupid good RAS. How old? Damn it, more hands! Why is everybody obsessed with hands? That should be a yes or no question. Anyway, back to Chop. He's explosive, and not just after Taco Bell. He's got elite athleticism and was compared to Micah Parsons and Myles Garrett. He's got first-round draft capital. Daniel Jeremiah called this a need for the Dolphins. Some say he's still a little green, but he's gonna just have to learn as he goes, I guess. They got Jaylen Phillips, who's 24 years old, and he is coming back from an injury. He just had his 5th-year option exercised. Bradley Chubb, who's 27 years old, he is also coming back from an injury, a torn ACL. He has a 5-year deal with an out after this year, but not without a lot of dead cap money hits. Shaquille Barrett, 31 years old. It's a good group, but a wounded group, and they did need a little injection of youth into it. In his rookie year, I think Chop's going to see the field because Chubb had his injury, I think, in December, and an ACL tear like that can take 9 to 12 months. And even once you're back, you might not be quite yourself. In the 4th round, they took Jaylen Wright, running back out of Tennessee. Last year, he had 1,000 yards rushing, 22 receptions, but only 4 touchdowns. He's got a good size, crazy speed. He ran 4.38 at the combine. I love the landing spot. I love Coach Mike McDaniel. I think that they could scheme for him. He's probably better as a complement back with home run potential, but I wouldn't be worried if he only gets 10 to 12 touches a game. He can do a lot with that. He's got good draft capital. 4th doesn't seem like a lot, but they actually traded up to get him. He's got good hands and he can be involved in the passing game. He had some fumble concerns. He had 4 in 2022, but I think 0 last year. The running back room is Raheem Mostert, who's 32 years old, and he is circling the grave. I mean, not the actual grave. He's just getting old for a running back. Still, he has 1 more year left after this season on his contract, but they could cut him with very little dead cap money. Javon Achane, he's 22 years old. He's on the 2nd year of his rookie deal. And Jeff Wilson Jr., who's 28 years old. He's got a 1-year deal, and nobody cares. Expectations for Jaylen Wright in his rookie season? Not much, because why would you? You might introduce him to the field just so they can get familiar with each other. First date stuff, nothing over the clothes, keep it all above the waist. Eventually, I think he'll take over for Raheem Mostert. However, that could take as long as 2 years from now. And then maybe he's in a 60-40 split with Achane being the 60. Currently, he's being mocked 25th overall, about the top of the 2nd round in a 12-team league. If you need a running back, he's perfectly sandwiched between Blake Corum and Ray Davis. If you're going to go best available, I would agree, take him before wide receivers Jermaine Burton and Luke McCaffrey, unless you're not patient. In the 5th round, they took edge Muhammad Kamara out of Colorado State. I'm not going to go super deep on him. What I like is 29.5 sacks in college, 5 forced fumbles. He was projected to go in the 3rd round and he dropped to the 5th. He's just someone to have on your radar. In the 6th round, they took Malik Washington, wide receiver out of Virginia. He's a little shorter at 5'9", but he's rocked up at 191 pounds. He runs a 4.47 and has plenty of burst. Last year, he had over 1,400 yards and 9 touchdowns. He's a good route runner. He gets yards after catch, breaks tackles. I was pounding the table for him to go to the Eagles. They took Ainias Smith instead, a similarly built wide receiver who I had never heard of and had less production in college. Washington was projected to go in the 3rd round. Why did he slide? No one seems to know yet. The wide receiver room is Tyreek Hill, who's 30 years old. He's on the second year of a 4-year deal, but he could retire or commit a felony at any moment. Jaylen Waddle, who's 25 years old, he had his 5th-year option picked up. And OBJ, who just joined the team on a 1-year deal. Worth noting, he was picked up just after the draft. So I don't know if that's an indictment of who they picked up or just an opportunity. And then there's Braxton Berrios and River Craycraft. I don't expect much in Malik Washington's rookie year. Special teams, if he can contribute there. But I do still believe in him, even though he slid so far in the draft. He's a real fantasy asset, and he could be the slot receiver here in the future. Currently, he's being mocked about 37th, top of the 4th round, which is too rich for me. Because if the guys who are currently mocked there are still available, I'm taking them instead. Audric Estime, Bucky Irving, Malachi, Corley. However, I do think this is going to change, and soon. He's a 6th-round draft pick, and he's kind of deep on this depth chart, so I'm going to need him to drop a little. I want to get him, but outside the top 50. He's got a ton of upside, but he's also the perfect person to target late. New York Jets. Hey look, the Jets drafted some people. Winners, Aaron Rodgers because they invested in the line and added another weapon for him. And Jets fans because they added a QB without pissing off Aaron Rodgers. Everything's all about Aaron Rodgers. Marsha. In the 3rd round, they took wide receiver Malachi Corley. He's an okay size for what he is, which is a slot guy who runs very violent. A lot of people have been comparing him to Deebo Samuel. Another YouTube channel, 2-Minute Drill, comped him to Amari Rodgers, which is very different. And then Brett Coleman compared him to Rashee Rice, which is also very different. So that is perplexing. He's got 3 good years of production in college, though, including a 1,000-yard season. He's very productive and consistent. He gets yak. Oh, in fact, he likes to call himself the Yak King. Only cool if you know it means yards after catch. Otherwise, you'll expect yaks. He was the first pick in the 3rd round, so the draft capital is there. He should be a starter in year 1. What I don't like, OC Nathaniel Hackett. This fucking guy. Corley's tape, which was a mixed bag for a receiver. He caught a lot of short stuff near the line. He was kind of an average route runner, not good with contested catches. However, he's admitted that, and he wants to work on it. In his rookie year, he's going to be a starting wide receiver for Aaron Rodgers. Currently, he's being mocked about 40th overall, 4th round of a 12-team league. I'd take him there, no question. However, I think that's going to rise. I still feel good taking him in the 3rd. The 2nd is a bit much. I could see him as high as 24th. In the 4th round, they took Braelon Allen, running back out of Wisconsin. He's a big dude. We don't have full metrics for Allen. He didn't run at the combine. He said he didn't feel 100% after coming back from a high ankle sprain. He was super productive in college. He had almost 3,500 yards and 35 touchdowns in 3 years. NFL.com's comp form was Michael Bush, which I get, but I don't love. What I do like is he's barely 20 years old, and he's very hard to tackle. What I don't like is he's not the fastest, and he's a bit heavy at 235. He could stand to lose a little weight. The running back room is Breece Hall. He's 22 years old. He's on the 3rd year of his rookie deal. Israel Abanikanda, who's 21 years old, and he's on the 2nd year of his rookie deal. And Isaiah Davis, who we'll get to in a little bit. Braelon Allen is no threat to Breece Hall. The draft capital does not imply anything. His youth doesn't even really matter on this depth chart, not when you've got a 22-year-old and a 21-year-old. If Hall were injured, I'd expect a committee. Maybe Allen would lead that, but it would still be a committee. I will say this, though. Le'Veon Bell came out of college at 240 pounds. Would I change my expectations of Braelon Allen if he were 10 pounds lighter? Probably, a little bit. He would play faster, and it's very possible he's still only 20 years old. In his rookie year, I don't expect much. He'll probably spell Hall a little bit, take some short yardage situations, and I think his whole career, he's probably going to be a committee back. Currently, he's being mocked about 45th overall, late in the 4th round. I'd rather take a shot on the wide receivers in that range. In the 5th round, they took Jordan Travis, quarterback out of Florida State. I liked a lot of his tape. He's mobile, he's got a big arm. What I don't like, he's got a first name for a last name. I don't trust it. He was in college for like 10 years. I'm not really sure how that maths. He's a little old for a rookie at 24 years old. Oh my God, hand? Singular? God, I hope the other one is a hook. He's coming off of injury. He broke his leg back in November. The quarterbacks here are old. Aaron Rodgers is 40. He's got 2 years left on his crazy deal. Tyrod Taylor, 34. He's got a 2-year deal. He's safe. He's just a safe dude, especially after what they've been through with Zach Wilson. So expectations for Jordan Travis, maybe he's nothing. Maybe he's never anything. but he could very well be the future backup here. Now, I'm not going to draft him, and I don't expect any of you are going to draft him either, but in a deep dynasty, I would consider stashing him. I mean, he's a lot better than some of the other backup quarterbacks that are out there. Sean Clifford, Jake Haener, or whoever else you were stashing with high hopes, just maybe. In the 5th round, they took Isaiah Davis out of South Dakota State. He had good production in college. He's got a good RAS. What I don't like is he went to a small school, his film was just okay, and I'm really just not that interested. I'm only bringing him up because they sank a 5th round pick into him when it wasn't a position of need. New England Patriots. The Patriots brought optimism back to New England with 5 straight picks on the offensive side of the ball. They knew what they had to do. Winners, the entire defense, Ramondre Stevenson, and Drake May for how they drafted after he was picked. Losers, Bailey Zappi, Tyquan Thornton, and Juju Smith-Schuster. In the 1st round, they took Drake May, quarterback out of North Carolina. He threw for over 8,000 yards and 63 touchdowns in college. I viewed him as the 3rd best quarterback in the draft for months prior. They didn't even have a choice. 3rd overall? You have to take a chance. So we all know he's the future. The question is when. Jacoby Brissett will likely start the season. I just honestly think he's better today. But at some point, that doesn't really matter. Currently, he's being mocked 7th overall in Superflex. That's behind J.J. McCarthy, which is silly to me. In the 2nd round, they took Jaylen Polk, wide receiver out of Washington. Another one of my pre-draft favorites. Honestly, I'm shocked he went so high. He's a good size and decent speed. He had over 1,100 yards and 9 touchdowns last year in college. The draft capital is there. I love his film. He's got a good chance on this depth chart. The wide receivers are Kendrick Bourne. He's on a 3-year deal, but there's an out after this year with low dead cap money. Demario Douglas, who's in the 2nd year of his rookie deal, and I love him. KJ Osborne, who's 27 years old when the season starts. He's on a 1-year deal. Juju Smith-Schuster, who's 27 years old, coming off of an injury. There's still 2 years on his deal, but they could cut him in the offseason. The dead cap money is over $12 million this year, but only $2.6 next year. I already thought he was in decline. Other receivers are Tyquan Thornton and Kayshon Boutte, plus rookie Javon Baker, who we will get to in a sec. So for Jaylen Polk, I expect him to be the wide receiver 2 in his rookie year. And I actually think that he's going to stay the wide receiver 2 here in New England for the future. Even if they draft somebody or bring somebody else in next year via free agency, I still think he's going to be good enough to remain the wide receiver 2. Currently, he's mocked near the end of the 2nd round, near his own teammate. But that'll change. Let's get into that. In the 4th round, they took Javon Baker, wide receiver out of UCF. Javon Baker is damn near the same size and speed as Jaylen Polk. Last year, Baker had 1,100 yards and 7 touchdowns in college. The ADP for him right now is a mess, but I assume that will all work itself out. Based on actual draft capital, Baker will probably go later. If I can get Polk, great. But if I can't get Polk, I'm just going to pick up Baker later. They're not the same, but I like them the same. I believe he'll be productive when given the opportunity. Like I said, we're breaking down every team by their division, so please go check out the other videos as well. Thank you so much for watching Shut Up Football. We'll see you in the next one. Peace!
Check the mic and make sure it sound right, boys. It sound right, boy.
Damn you, Timmy!